Hello, everybody. Welcome to Best Whole New World. Yes. Melody Chatamoya, whichever way she is on your screen as I'm motioning back and forth because she's that way on my screen, but she could be that way on your screen. But she's beautiful as always. From Dublin, Ireland, myself, Jacqueline Best here from Prince Edward Island, Canada. And we're broadcasting Living from the Heart series. And are you girls ready? Because today we're talking about what do you bring to the table besides the obvious, Melody?
Hi, everyone. Besides yourself.
What are we talking about, girl?
Okay. Okay. Before we talk about what we are talking about today, we need to go back to last week and talk about our challenge of going out on dates. And I don't know if I went on a date or I didn't, but I would take it like I went on a date because I sat with a man, we had dinner or lunch. We had lunch, and he covered me with his umbrella. That's a date as far as I'm concerned. It was never meant to be serious. It was just supposed to be fun, which it was. Oh, there you go.
I think you need just a tiny little bit more details there. Okay. So
okay.
How did this non-date where he covered you with the umbrella, which is very gallant.
Yes.
And it is a characteristic that I think you would like to receive, right?
Yes,
in a man that he is, right? Yeah. It's not like I can do it myself.
No.
Attitude that we talked about and opening your heart would go, I can put my own umbrella up.
Yeah. But I will allow him to do that for me, which is good. Makes him feel good and makes me feel great. That's wonderful.
And where does he
man? He's a colleague. It's and it was not even just the two of us. It was a group of people from work. We're saying goodbye to a colleague. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't even close to what you would call a date at all. But I was supposed to have time with a man, talk to him, which I did. And I was comfortable in my skin and I wasn't too worried about whether it was a date or not because, well, it was just us talking. I actually started thinking about it afterwards. It's not that could have been a date actually because of what we were talking about. Because we were talking about personal stuff that we've never talked about before. And that's why I'm saying it was kind of like a date. But I'm sure he would be freaking out if he heard that I was saying that.
That's what he's saying. I never asked you. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Yeah, but the whole point was that you be with a man, but be aware of how you are feeling when you are with him. That's all it was supposed to be. Yeah.
So really, when you asked us last week to go out on a date, and that word date was what made me sick to my stomach, was really, which was great because I got to clear all that. So I appreciate that. But we're really saying it's time to connect with a man. So whether it is like, I think Annie had mentioned she would meet somebody in a parking lot while walking her dog, right? Like however it is that opportunity where you actually took time to connect and experienced this connection and how you felt in it and what you were expecting or what you weren't expecting. And now we're going to figure out what we're bringing to the table to take that connection or date to the next level.
Exactly. Yeah. Perfect.
I already have another date scheduled. Okay.
Ooh, I was just about to say, so tell us about your date.
See, for me, it would have been, I know this guy already, and I would, if I had written the list of things down, he did not fit in the category at all. Right?
Okay.
But since I was aware, you asked us, and I had this awful feeling, and I gave it away and did my own energy work, and I was open when the door knocked, and he said, "Hey, want to go to trivia?" I was like, okay, universe. I was so clear. This was my moment. So in doing so, it was great because I've never been. It turns out that these events go on weekly. And
There you go.
3/4 of the people were men that were there. And
Ooh.
as I was sitting at this table, because he thought I knew all this trivia answers, and it was movies, and I know movies, but I don't know anybody that's in the movie, or, I don't really know the answer. I go, yeah, I think I remember something like that, right?
Okay.
And he's like, I thought you'd know this. And I'm like, no. So this other guy came over, and he had a little bit to drink, but he was sitting on this side, and he was good looking, but he was obviously was on beer 3. And I could sense the energy from the guy over here that asked me to come. Like, could you tell him to go away?
He was a threat, was he? No.
And I was having fun, because you told me it's about fun. So I was having fun. I was like talking to him, and I was talking to the table back over there. And I was like assessing that there was a lot of men here. And just having that experience of I'm being me. And then what was really the breakthrough was because there were 25 trivia questions, and you need like 5, okay? And I had my phone, and he's like, well, people Google. And I'm like, no, I won't do that, but I'll call my brother.
Okay.
He knows all the answers. And I phoned, and he wasn't there, so I texted him, and I'm like, if you get this message, call me. I'm in the middle of a trivia thing. and they both guys are like, you can't do that. That's cheating. And I'm like, we are not going to win this trivia game. And really, the point of the trivia game was just to get people together, because they were drawing tickets for money. It's called King of Clubs. And if someone goes up and they draw a ticket, and if you have the ticket, then you go up and you pull the King of Clubs. The winning thing was $21,000. So he had bought me $20 worth of tickets. So that was where I was like, he bought me a drink, a Pepsi, and I was like, and all he told me was that if I won, I had to split the $21,000 with him.
Oh, well, that's a small price to pay.
Great date. So, and then I did. My brother phoned me, and I'm like, okay. And we'd finished all 25 questions, but I'd written a few things down to remember. I'm like, okay, and who was in this movie? And he's like, this person? I'm like, writing it. And I wrote down about 5 or 6 different answers. And these guys are like, I don't think you can do that. And I was like, I was just having fun. And then they're like, oh, your brother's really smart, because all these answers were true. And I was like, yeah. And I realized that I could be me. It didn't matter at all about them. I was just having an experience. This whole idea of dating, as you said, however we look at it, it was a connection. It was an experience. I reframed it, so I got points.
Exactly. And how did you feel?
I felt good, and I was happy to say see ya. And he's like, do you want to do it again next week? And I'm like, sure. It's world geography.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I'm so happy for you.
As long as he's buying me the winning tickets, I'm okay with that.
Oh, I see.
I'm reframing my whole date thing. I'm like, I am going to prosper from this experience now.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's good. That's the whole point anyway. That's the whole point. So, yes, well done.
So I just want to see, because there's no comments here. So I think everybody is incognito, because nobody wants to be brought forward here to say, how was your date?
How was your date?
Yeah. Or they are intentionally missing the live and only going to watch the recording today because they don't want to be called out to say, hey, what happened?
Probably. Oh, interesting.
Anybody willing to say that they're there and coming out and sharing what happened to them on their date or no date? Because we can clear your resistance here too.
Yeah.
Nope. They're all silent.
Okay. Fine. So we move on to, what are you bringing to the table?
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Aha. They have popped up.
Okay. What are you getting?
Okay, so Nelta didn't go, hi, Kate, and hi, Nelta, yay. So they're admitting they're here now.
Okay.
Nelta, did you put yourself in a position to go on a date, or are you saying you didn't go on a date because you turned it down? Kate, they can't see us. No, I can't get to the chat. I can see you, but I can't. Hey, I wonder hold on, what happens here? Nope. Okay. All right, so I just get your comments. And so Kate did go on a date. Yay!
Yay! Well done, Kate.
So Nelta was house cleaning. Well, sometimes house cleaning is the prelude, because you're kind of setting your consciousness ready for that next experience.
Yes.
Because after all, Melody, did you not just finish the house cleaning?
Yes, we just finished, and our house is sparkling. We love it. Love it. Yes, it's good. It feels really therapeutic to do that, even though it's hard work, and because we were doing real, under the cupboards cleaning. It's hard when you're doing it, but it feels like you're letting go of things as well.
Well, you are, right? Because your house is your consciousness, right? If you follow Arena 9 Feng Shui, I know, to me, whenever I've cleared something, if I don't shift something in my house, I haven't really cleared it. Because
good,
right? Because I get this. Even that drawer. All of a sudden, that drawer has got to be reorganized or cleaned out, or the cupboard, or you're going to the top corner or something. Like for me, when the girls left, when I came back, it was like I had to shift the furniture. I had to turn lights on in different areas of the house that just had to stay on. I had to do some smudging. Like the energy had to shift because it was just me here now.
Yeah.
I was cleaning corners and things that, had to be resurrected in a sense. So
makes perfect sense.
Okay, so now we're going to look forward to hearing from you, and kudos for Kate. And now we're talking about what we're bringing to the table.
Yes, so you want a man who's funny, who's kind, who's adventurous, who's all those things. But are you receptive to those qualities? When he's being funny, are you seeing that it's funny, or is he funny only when you are allowing him to be funny?
Okay, so
like he can be funny sometimes, but when you're not feeling up to it, you are not thinking that's funny.
Okay, so let's just go with this one, because you said funny, and yes, we like to laugh, but then immediately I had these images of previous. He could be very childlike sometimes. Okay. And he might feel that was humorous, but I was like, it's not humorous now.
So it's not humorous according to your standard now.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So how do you deal with that? Is that like I can only have funny in a certain area, or is that,
what assumptions are you bringing when you are thinking that he's not being funny, or when you're saying at this moment he's behaving like a child, which you said,
right?
What assumptions are you making?
Well, that his funny isn't funny at the moment because I've decided it's not funny.
And who are you again in the?
I am, got this? I am the most important thing in the relationship. And so he should behave just how I want him to be. Isn't that what the scoop of the conversation is?
Yes, yeah, it is. According to whose standard?
Mine. And you're telling me that I'm putting the funny in a box.
Yes, you are. According to your standard of what funny is and what is not funny at any time.
Okay.
It could be during sex. It could be whatever. You want a funny guy. He's being funny. But you are saying, at this moment, I don't want a funny guy. I want something else.
Right.
So in talking about this, I want us to think about the conditions that we give on men, the presumptions that we make on men. And I'm also going to explain why we make those presumptions. Because for some reason, we have allowed ourselves to think that men and women are exactly the same. Except men are women with hairy legs and beards and whatever. But we are really just the same. So when a man is behaving like a man, like that man you said you wanted, but you are not thinking according to your feminine brain that at this point he should know to be serious. You are using a standard that you have set for yourself about what's acceptable and what's not acceptable behavior at any given point.
Yeah, I can agree with you, and I can feel this. It's certainly about 10% of the resistance compared to last week.
I know.
And I totally get I totally get what you're saying, that my list of items on my ideal guy in the past related to also a belief system when he could be like that. So he could be funny when basically I said it was okay to be funny, or I thought it was funny, or, you know, in my parameters of funny. But he was not allowed to be funny when I felt it was inappropriate, right? That, you know.
Yes.
So on every list of item that I think that I want in a guy, I have a set of beliefs behind that that says, okay, you know, when you're going to be with family, you're going to act like this. And you're going to be like this, you're going to act like that. And yes, when you're in a business conversation, you're going to shake hands like that. And yeah, okay. Okay, I get it. I apologize to my 2 ex-husbands. I totally see now. It was impossible for you ever to make me happy. Okay.
Okay. I want us to get a little bit serious. When you're saying it's inappropriate behavior, right? Whose standard are you using?
Mine.
Yes. But if you find that you've done everything you can. Okay, you have criticized him, you have resented him, you have explained so many times why he should behave a certain way, but he doesn't behave that way because he's just being himself. How then do you get him to change? What do you do?
Come see Melody.
Yes, you can come see me. But what we usually do as women is this. We become even more critical. We start to analyze them, and we start to telling them as much as possible how wrong they are. We tell them so many times. Because we feel that men have always been powerful. We feel that men have it all together and the world belongs to them. So when they fail to meet our standards, we punish them. Because we want them to feel that little bit smaller, that little bit less confident. That's why we are the moral guides of the world. That's why women are the ones who stare at you and you go, oh, my mom is looking at me. Fathers don't do that. They don't need to do that. We do. When a wife looks at her husband a certain way, he knows to stop whatever he's doing. Because he's in trouble. She doesn't even have to open her mouth. He's been trained so many times that that's not a behavior I want, because we have the perfection behavior. When we say we have a standard, it's not even our standard, because we can't live up to the standard. It's the standard of the perfect person.
So sorry, just like goes back to their mother would look at them that way and say, hey, you're not supposed to do that. Yeah. So even if my intention wasn't to say, you're not supposed to do that, if I look or pause, he can interpret it that way.
Yes.
And he can react, because I think it can be a little convoluted there, that it's not just all, that they have their own built-in reaction thing.
They do. But most of the time, you see, men want peace at any cost. So most of the time when you go on the attack, they back off to keep the peace, because they can't deal with the drama. So when you go, they usually back off to stop the whole, because the most comfortable place for a man is quiet. Quietness with no drama. Everything else usually is just chaos, or they are watching football, and they are watching football, but they are not emotionally engaged, or they get emotionally engaged, but the way we think they get emotionally engaged is not the same way as we get emotionally engaged. But I'm digressing. That's not where I want to go.
Okay, so let's go back to, so you're saying what we bring to the table is the conversation. So I bring to the table the set of beliefs or ideas of what I want in this person. So I want him to be funny, but I'm bringing him, he can be funny in X. That's what you're talking about. What am I bringing to the table? I'm bringing baggage.
Yes, but you're bringing baggage. You're also bringing fear, because we are most of the time kind of brought up to be afraid of men. I don't know about you, but when we were kids, when we did something wrong, my mom would say, well, wait until your father gets here. And a lot of kids know this. It's over the world. Wait until your father gets here. And most fathers, I'm lucky actually, my father didn't just interact with me to discipline me. He was interacting with me on other levels as well. So when he did discipline me, he would tell me, I'm doing this because I love you, and I'm thinking this will help you. Even though it didn't make sense to me, but at least he was kind of trying to explain it. Some parents didn't do that. Some fathers didn't do that. So the only time they interacted with their kids was to inflict pain on the child, right? So we tend to look at men as scary people. So when you are going to a guy already, before he even opens his mouth, you already have your defenses up. You're already defending yourself. That's what you're bringing to the table. You already have the perfect woman syndrome, whereby a woman doesn't cry, she doesn't show pain, she doesn't show, when she shows emotion, it's looked down upon as well, because you're just being a girl, and being a girl is wrong, and it's bad, and it's awful. And so even if you show emotion, you're ashamed of it. And I don't know about you, but the only time I ever saw my mom sick, I thought she was dying, because my mom never got sick.
Right.
I'm sure she did. She got headaches and stuff, but she was so strong that we never knew that she was sick.
Right. Yeah.
Because she was also trained that a woman bears it all. Until she falls down, she is going to bear it all. Because we are controlled by outside forces. We react to outside forces. Our behavior is externally motivated. So when a person comes to us and they say, oh, that t-shirt looks bad on you, you never wear that t-shirt again, even if you loved it. And we keep track of what others are saying about us, and we then adapt to that without even thinking about it.
Okay, so I would just like to frame this conversation in the past. Yeah. This is how we were raised, and this is what we have passed on. in the past,
Yeah.
but things are changing now. So for those that are listening, we're not saying you need to do this now or you're doing this now. We're saying you already had these experiences that when you were growing up, someone said that didn't look any good in you, and you went, oh, I remember totally. In grade 6, my boyfriend gave me a heart necklace, and he said, I love you on it. And totally, I had 2 people say to me immediately, oh, that is so awful. I don't even know what they said. I just remember the feeling of going, oh my gosh, I cannot accept this. And, taking it off and throwing it back at him and saying, take your necklace back.
Yeah. But the moment he gave it to you, you loved it.
Yes, I did. I thought, oh, this is how lovely. He loves me. And then immediately it was this, oh, you don't want to be loved. This is going to be my girlfriend. And I'm like, right, yeah, I'm independent. Forget it. Yeah, okay.
So adapting is not about love. It's instinctive.
Right.
When you are adapting to whatever is happening around you, trying to please this person and do that, you're doing it for survival. Where in the past, that's what we used to do, so that you can be chosen and you can be perfect. And now we know it's not good for us. It doesn't help us to grow. It doesn't help us to be inspired and to be the amazing, capable women we are. Right? That's why we are talking about this.
Okay, so
it's just to make sure you're aware of what you're bringing to the table.
Right.
Before you even start talking.
So let's just say we are starting this connection, right? You said go out on a date. So you started this connection, and then you're saying this conversation we're having now is to bring awareness to the fact that when he starts laughing or doing something and you start to feel this, I feel that's too inappropriate, or, that you go, aha. And you are the observer and take a step back and say, where did this come from? You asked him to be funny. Now he's being funny, but you're judging it, right? Is this what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'll give you an example. My husband Taurai couldn't dance at all. People used to laugh at him when he danced, but he loved dancing.
Right.
And I loved seeing him messing up dancing because he was happy.
Right.
And if, initially probably I would have said, oh yeah, people are laughing at him and maybe he should sit down and, but so what? He's having a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if he has a balance issue, he has a balance issue, but he's having a great time. Live with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying, that sometimes when we have this standard that we have and we want to fit that standard, but it's just a baggage. Be aware of it, observe it, and try by all means to let it wash over you.
Okay.
Just let it, wash over you, and you'll be having more joy and more fun than ever before. Because for the first time in your life, maybe, for some of us, you won't care what other people think. Because it doesn't really matter what other people think.
Right.
What matters is how you feel.
Yes. So I think it's like, as I go back in my experience, and I said, I didn't look at my checklist. I just went for the experience, and it was fun because it was just me, and I had reframed the whole idea.
Yeah.
I feel that the women also need to look at that sometimes we have these belief systems in place that we're holding on to, and they're kind of like our protective barrier. So we can turn around and say, my checklist doesn't measure up, because you can notice how many things that he's doing that are inappropriate or don't fit, because we have these judgments that keep us from getting connected.
Yeah. And because you already have, your energy is saying, I have issues here, and I'm just using issues because I don't want to. Yeah, I have issues here, and he's reading that.
Yeah,
that you are not really welcoming him as he is. You are saying, right, I see like 3 things that are good about you, and I'll fix you so that you're perfect.
See, and as much as I'm laughing at that, and I see that because I have had those experiences, I also did the opposite, and I've shared with that before. Because my ex-husband, I was like, I realize you have all these things, but I'm just the opposite. I'm gonna just put up with it and love you with and swung the total opposite direction. So I was like a pendulum. I was either all one way or all the other way, and now I'm finding the balance.
Yeah, and either way, it doesn't give you what you want. It doesn't give you the confident, happy, relaxed man that you want. You get the child that you think is a child. Because funny enough, when you look at men and think they're children, they actually start behaving like children. Ha ha ha, the law of attraction. You know, it's the universe that gives you what you think about.
Yeah, so on that one, Nelta, did you really want to go on a date? The universe gives you what you think about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it does. So the other thing I want us to be aware of as we approach this table is that men are internally motivated. You can only compare a man to act by connecting to his inner world, connect to his heart. The outer world, fine. Yeah, sorry.
Say more about that. There's a disconnect. You wanted me to connect with him and on his
you want to start learning about what inspires him to be the best that he can be. And in our case as women, criticism works for us, because when somebody says you can't do that, we work 10 times hard to prove that we can.
Yeah.
If you say that to a man, you're saying sit down and never get up.
Okay, repeat that.
If you say to a man, if you criticize a man for anything, you are inspiring him to be lazy. Because he has no point. There's no point in even trying to please you, because he's never going to win. Criticism doesn't work for men. It really doesn't. It works for women. It doesn't work for men.
I think I had much more masculine energy in me, because sometimes like that, I go, yeah, you criticize me, forget it. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. But that's most women, usually when they are criticized, it's like a motivating factor. It's like it's a drive for them to prove this person wrong.
That's true.
Find if you read a lot of biographies about women who did so many things in a man's world, they usually succeeded because so many men were so against them that they just had to prove that they could do it.
Right.
Whereas if a man is in those circumstances or under that situation, his masculinity will shrink and shrink and shrink until he gives up.
But there's so many men that go out there and are doers. They're conquerors. They discover. They innovate. They inspire. So you're saying to me that they have a woman behind them going, yeah, you can do it.
You are amazing. Yes, they do.
That's that story of every good man has a great woman behind him. That's making me feel sick too. No,
I know. I know, but that's what it is. If you praising men works. If you just say thank you, you did a great job, even though you really didn't do much of a great job, tomorrow, because they play for points, tomorrow he will do higher to get the bigger prize.
But Melanie, why do I want to see, this comes back to why do I want to tell somebody, because this is what I cleared, is why do I want to pretend that they're better than they are? Why do I want to say, you know what, you missed the basket, but shoot again and shoot again and shoot again, and realize, you know what, like, you were in love with your husband.
Yes.
Okay. And in that process, being in love with him, you're like, he loves dancing, you're accepting that. Yeah. But if I'm just going out there dating, do I want to go and say, you're missing the basket all the time, but I'm going to keep going rah, 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 supporting you, because then maybe you get the basket and then you'll be the guy I want you to be?
No.
Okay.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
At all.
Yeah.
I am not saying you should put up with things you don't want. I am saying a person makes an effort to do something for you.
Okay.
You can see the effort. It's like this. It's like little boys go on Mother's Day or little girls go on Mother's Day. They're 6 and 5 and they mess up the kitchen to make you Mother's Day breakfast.
Right.
Instead of seeing the whole mess that they've made,
Right.
see the effort. See the intention behind the mess.
Okay.
Okay? Because the intention will tell you what they were trying to do. But if you look at the intention and how you feel, it's going back to inside. Your inside, your heart will tell you whether the intention was a good one or it was a way just to get you. You get me?
I get you.
Yes. So I'll give you an example of my husband. When we started, living together, whatever, he loved to cook.
Mm-hmm.
And every time he cooked something, and he didn't do it my way, he didn't cook to my standard of perfection, I would have something to criticize on that dinner. And after a while...
Sorry, could you repeat that?
After a while... Sorry, my phone is responding.
That's
to me.
okay. Well, your phone is repeating that. Okay, I just see that there's other comments too that we've got to read here. Okay, so
Go ahead.
somehow they just showed up. I don't know, because Kate was actually saying that she went on a date. We're backtracking here just for a moment. So
That's fine. It's okay.
It was a hoot. Not anyone she's interested in, right?
Mhm.
But that's the whole crate. And there were so many friends and gents around the location. I felt like old home week. So many hugs and kisses. Very fun. So she was the, way to go, Kate.
Wow. Yes.
And then Nelta came back with she wasn't thinking about it honestly. So Nelta, even my dreams were about cleaning.
Okay, then.
Okay. See, and Nelta, if I was actually working with you, I would say that the fact that you said you weren't thinking about it honestly was like really in the back of your mind, you were thinking about it. And so you were cleaning to get prepared.
Yeah. Yes.
Honestly.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. I agree.
Okay, so we're back to the table, and he is being the way he's being, and we're noticing the good parts in his action versus the mess that was created in the kitchen.
Yes, it's to do with. I'm not saying that when a person is doing something bad, you just say, sure, it's great. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that they try to do something good. It's for you. They don't do it perfectly, or they don't do it very well. You can still say thank you. Oh, thank you very much. This is great. You can appreciate the effort. You can also say thank you, but I don't really like that. Right. That's also allowed. What I'm saying is don't break him up in your no. And in saying that, I'm going to say something a bit weird. I was a bit worried about going on a date, because what usually happens when I go out with guys or when I talk to men is after having a conversation with me for about an hour, their eyes start to shine up. I start being the most ideal woman that they've ever seen because I listen to them, mm-hmm. and I understand where they're coming from, and I get how hard life is for men. I get that. And they know that when I'm being empathetic, I am there with them in the trunks, in the trenches. So they get my energy and they start to fall in love with me. It's not me that they're falling in love with. They're liking the idea that for the first time ever, what they're saying is important. Somebody's taking them seriously. Mm-hmm. Somebody thinks they are good people.
Right.
And so when I'm not interested in a person that way, I struggle, because when I say no, I'm not interested, but because I'm also nice to them, they get confused about the whole, so why is she being nice to us if she doesn't love me? That kind of thing. Right. So I tend to, if I'm not really interested in a guy, I always have my shutters down. completely. And unless I'm interested, and then I go around and we talk and we connect and whatever. But usually I try to keep a distance because it has happened to me so many times. I've had to break people's hearts so many times that it makes me feel bad because I think I should do that. So I don't know whether that's a block on my part or it's just, I don't know what it is, but I tend to want to keep that, I don't want to lead a person to go thinking that I'm more interested than I am. You get me?
Yeah. No, I totally get you. And I've been there, and I think there's probably others that are on with us that have been in that same situation, that you can naturally have men come to you and there can be this natural conversation, and then you feel like, whoa, they want to take it to another level, and you're like, no.
I'm not there at all.
And that's where I feel that I think when you talk about having the shutters up, for me, it was that kind of idea is that it's easy for me to engage with guys, right?
Yeah.
And it's that fine balance between what is an engagement for me being me and what is an engagement that I am going to be able to be me and possibly be receptive to receiving a deeper connection.
Exactly. And that's where I don't know, I have always had this ability to get where men are coming from and all that. And maybe that's why I teach these things. That's why I teach these things. So anyway, what were we talking about? Oh, we're talking about starting. So we start to look at men and using words that are inspiring to them. And we talked about criticism, because criticism is the biggest, one of the biggest emasculator of men. And our homework today is actually going to be looking at that. Observe when men are criticized in public, and you will see it all the time. And look at little boys as well. Look at their shoulders when they are criticized. Spend the whole week looking at them and see what happens to their body language every time they're criticized. It's actually really empowering.
Well, I think little girls nowadays too.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody, I would like to just say that anybody at this point, when you're criticizing them versus noticing the blessing in the action, they're absorbing that.
They are, yes, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to notice if we're criticizing, or when we want to criticize, or what are we noticing about criticizing this week?
Okay, we are noticing two things. We are noticing what our thoughts are about men. When we think about men, notice what you're thinking exactly. Like, is it positive or negative? Is it a nice thing or a bad thing? Is it defensive or fear-based? Is it love-based or fear-based? And then to go forward, also look at when you're going around, when somebody says something that is critical to a man, observe that and see how that affects him. I really would love to know how that pans out, because it's quite interesting. But it's empowering, because once you know what that does, then you know how to inspire him to be the type of man you want him to be. And that's the whole point.
Because I think that whole idea of what you're saying about notice when you're critical or whatever, that could be like a 6-month course. Okay. it is like an ongoing peeling of layers and consensual reality that, like Dawn and I were talking about, of things that you've taken in. So just being aware of this week of when people are saying things about men, whether it's on the media, because we know there's particular men that are in the media these days, and or out and about. What is your reaction to that? Do you want to join in the conversation to say,
yeah,
he did?
Sitcoms are very good at making the men look small and a little bit dense. but just look at all that and see how that's how it makes them feel, and how you feel as well when you see that, how when you observe that, how it makes you feel.
Right, like, because if you're in the you can feel that you've got this intensity that you're enjoying putting a man down, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Versus saying, oh, I feel so badly that they're saying that about him, or anything in between.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So so we're bringing awareness to how when we criticize men, how we criticize men, how we react to criticism of men. That's the homework.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, this is a tough course. Let's, we're only doing little tidbits of things. So imagine if you were actually working with Melody on, weekly. Whew, there you go. This is great, Melody. So they can find you, as always, at passionheartinstitute.com.
Heartpassioninstitute.com.
Oops.
Yeah, Heart Passion Institute, and the Facebook page Heart Passion Institute as well. And so next week, I've been kind of thinking we need to change direction a little bit, but I also think maybe we should do one more of these very deep ones before we move on to the lighter things. What do you think?
I feel that the change is happening, and you'll get the answer by next week.
Okay, thanks. Let's wait and see what happens.
See if everybody's doing their deep work, or we need to go digging some more.
Okay, yeah, of course, yeah. We can talk about bad boys.
See? See, so that way, I think there's a point in that, because it's that space of wanting to know when to draw boundaries, right? I think that's where a lot of women have in that conversation of bad boys. What you're saying, you want to support and inspire them, or not critique them. But you know what, really, that they fit in that category of a bad boy, right? Like it's like realizing, no, I don't want this. But if our past, like my past, had been so kerfuffled, I was going one side or the other side. There wasn't this blending balance to say, okay, all is good. Yeah.
And we're all good. We're all intrinsically good people. Yeah, there are some very challenging people in the world. I won't deny that. But most of us are actually really good people. And I think what messes us up is that lack of understanding of what it is that we are meant to be doing, especially when we are with each other. We tend to, because, this whole love thing and relationships thing has been evolving since our great parents never, I don't think, married for love, and we are lucky for great parents married for love. Now people are evolving to actually realizing relationships have to be for love, and there are some people who are not even allowed to do that now. So if you have an opportunity to choose the person to love, and when you are choosing love and joy in your own life, I know I'm going to get into trouble for this, but you can really truly love anyone. You can. It's just that, to a degree. It's just that, how do you give yourself the permission to be that vulnerable, to be that open, and to know how to inspire them into the best person, or the best person they can be, not the best version of themselves, but the best person they can be. And all that is possible as long as you know how.
Okay, that is like a big nugget there that we'll leave with, because the idea that, yes, you can love anyone, because that's agape love. We're all here. The greatest love is to love everyone.
Yeah.
But then loving the person, being vulnerable and opening your heart to that connection is why we're gathering here and sharing the love.
Exactly.
Okay, so next week we'll continue this conversation, living from the heart and opening to your relationship. And we'd love to hear as things develop for you. PM Melody, post on Heart, passioninstitute.com, or on our Facebook page, or here at Best Whole New World. And thanks for joining us. And I love you all.
Bye.